Hello and welcome to the Feedback Show. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Hey, Dad, how's it going?
Oh, all right, Steve. Yeah, yes, we're doing fine. I'm very well, I'm happy to say, and in good voice at the moment. Um,
You
some of
sound
my croaking
surprised.
seems to have left me. Well, I had a game of golf yesterday. It wasn't brilliant weather, but it was nice. And first game of the season, so it's brightened me up.
Good.
So,
Excellent. Lovely. So this is the Feedback Show where we take members' artwork that's sent to us and offer some tips and advice on how to improve it. Only a few submissions this week, so we'll spend a little time on each one of your pictures and see if we can help in any way. The first one is from Pam. Pam sent a picture of this lovely beach scene. And Pam says, "Hi Stephen and Colin, I really appreciate your feedback on my previous artwork. Thank you. I completed this seascape prior to the feedback show. I did this freehand but have taken on board your comments on square drawing for correct proportions. I didn't think it would matter with the landscape, but I think it would have helped my boat. Any feedback appreciated."
yes, well, Pam, you're absolutely right. This is exactly where you would go wrong. If you look at your little boat, it's a little squash boat, isn't it? The problem when you're drawing something like this, if you were going to draw freehand, the best way of doing that is to do squares or sort of circles, because that way you can get the proportion better than you can by just drawing it.
I see. So like
You
a
see what I mean?
square
Yeah, if
frame.
you imagine, Steve, if you were to put on, if you can do this, put a little square around my boat.
Okay, now you're
If
testing
you,
me.
I know. Put a little square around my boat if you
Okay.
can.
Oh, hold on. This is
Well, don't worry if not.
it's
Oh,
all
that's
right.
it.
It's
That's
all
what I'm
right.
looking for.
I know what I'm doing ish.
Well, I'm
Okay.
sure everybody's interested in this anyway, seeing how
Okay.
you've done it.
That's
Yeah,
great.
but
Oh,
it's put a square around the boat. Uh, um, the idea of this, you see, and what you're looking for is you want to close in. That you've got the idea of that. That's exactly right. It doesn't have to be right on the edge, as long as you what you do is you're seeing it better that way.
okay. So
You
how
see,
would you do this
well,
on?
what you're doing, what mm,
How would you
no,
do this
that's
in real life? I know we're doing this here,
you
but
would
how would you
actually draw it. You'd actually draw it with a pencil
over
on
your?
your original picture. If you think about it, you're drawing freehand. So therefore, you need to have a proportion, and to do it, you need a square like that. Only it would be in keeping with the size of the boat. I mean, do you know what I mean? I mean that's a square that you would put, and you've got to try to imagine that you're long and narrow, and if you went to the other boat, don't bother to take it across. But if you did go to the other boat, you'd see that you're miles out in your proportions. See what I mean?
So how would you
The
do that on? Sorry, I just want to get an idea. I know we're doing it on here, but how would you do it on your? Would you draw a
measurement,
picture? You'd measure
measurement.
a
Yeah,
box over your
yeah,
picture, and then
yeah,
you'd measure a
yeah.
box over your own
You,
picture.
you could do it that way. You don't have to do it that way. You'd find that if you did a little square box on your, I mean, you're looking at the reference picture, therefore you know it's long and narrow. So if you put a square box on your picture that would represent that, you'd find you can then work within the perimeters of the square. This is
Mm,
how I used to do it years ago. And this is how square drawing works in a way. It's the same idea.
mm,
So that's how you would do it. You would draw your squares or your circles. You see, everything else doesn't really matter. If you take the boat away and
mm,
take the squares away, everything else is fine.
mm,
The hut is not right, and that could be a bit bigger, but that really is not critical. Rocks and sea and sky and trees, again, not critical. But
mm.
as soon as you get something like that in it, or a little person, for instance, then you've got a problem, and that's where square drawing does come in very useful.
Mm.
But I think I still compliment you. You've done a great job of it. But it's good that you have seen the problem with the boat.
Yeah.
The fact that you've actually seen it, a lot of people wouldn't realise it until I come along and say, hey, that's not as long as it. It's one of those difficult things to do, and you'd be more in more trouble if you had a lot of buildings, for instance. There, you'd have a lot of problems with that. So your perspectives and proportions all go out the window. I don't think there'd be very many people that could actually draw a freehand a picture or a painting that's got lots of buildings in it without using some kind of reference. I would find that really hard. I'm sure that all the masters used to do some kind of guidelines, even if it was just squares and circles and boxes to proportion.
Just to double check it, if anything, just to double check as well, or if they've done something like in a rough outline before they go over it, they could just double check it.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a good thing that you've done it. Apart from that, it's not bad. You've done a good job of it, and I think what can I say? It's okay. You've minimised the amount of rocks, which I can understand because they are so hard to do. But you've done a really good job of the water and the sky. Well done. No, there's not much more to say on that, Steve. I think you've done a good job of it, basically, except for that boat. You might have been better to rub the boat out completely and get rid of it. Put a bit of seaweed in its place or something, because then it would look all right.
Okay. Lovely work. Thanks, Pam. Next one's from Cheryl here. Dear Steve and Colin, I enjoy your feedback show and learn a great deal listening to it. I would like to get some suggestions for this lioness picture. I had difficulty with the fur, especially the short hairs going in the right direction. Also, the dark line on the face looks too dark. What suggestions do you have for getting the fur direction more realistic, Cheryl?
Well, you've just got to be a little bit bolder. I don't think you've made a bad job of that, actually. I think the fur looks to me to be representative of how I've done it. What's hard, of course, is when you have all of those markings and variations of tones that you see on my picture, it's hard to get those right. And so consequently, you tend to be quite shy of being too bold. And this is what is the situation here. You haven't been bold enough. See, the eye's all right. You've been bold with the eye. So why didn't you think about the same thing for the fur? In fact, the whole eye area isn't bad at all. It's when you branch out from that and you go into the fur. And that's why that marking looks too dark. It's no darker than mine. Mine's, if anything, mine's a little darker than yours. But it's because the surrounding fur doesn't match it. You haven't put enough colour in it. And it's quite hard. I'm not suggesting that that was a particularly difficult picture when you get close up like that. The other thing I would point out to you, you could have done a better job with the background. That background is very light. Once again, a bit timid, I think, Cheryl. That's what you need to be a little stronger. And had you had that a little stronger, then you'd have had the lioness standing away better. It would have had more impact, But this is just simply a question of being bold with your colours, being bold. And the area let's just take one particular area which is probably annoying you, and that is the one that is to the left of the eye. You can see that there's a dark marking that one, and then go further across, because the other one, that one there, running down there, you've got that wrong. You see what I mean? It doesn't work out as mine does. So the fur could have been darker there, a lot darker. And then but basically, if you were to use your 187, I think I use for that, and followed by your 283, that would have darkened. You could darken that now. You can still go back over that and darken that, and that would have made it a lot better. But of course, if you do that, you've got to do the whole lot, because that would then stand out like a sore thumb. See what I mean? So you've got to start off being quite bold and follow it through. But I don't necessarily agree. I think the fur, you've done a reasonable job of it.
Just having the confidence.
That's all it is. And this confidence comes with practice. Confidence comes with, the more you do, and especially of this kind of thing, which is hard to do anyway. It's all about contrast and getting the dimension in, because contrast equals dimension. You get a three-dimensional look as soon as you get the contrast. That's what I'm talking about with the background. With the background, there's no contrast there, so therefore it's just very plain.
Okay.
But you'll get there. I've no doubt you'll get there. You see, the water, you haven't done a bad job. You've had to go in quite deep, dark with that because it's dark on the reference picture. So you can do it.
Good. That's some good tips there. I found that interesting. I hope that's helped Cheryl and others that are watching too. Great. Okay. A couple pictures here from Michelle. We'll start with the dog first. The dog is named Rolo, is now no longer with us, and my friend wanted to keep it in the blanket with the dog as it was all his obsession. I found the blanket really tricky to do, and as I am an animal member, the only animal video I could compare it with was the lamb and mother, and tried to use that technique. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
Well, let's start with that, right? And I think you've done a really good job. And the blanket is nothing wrong with that at all. That's good. And again, you see, you've got a lovely feel to that. The animal's got a lovely feel. You can almost get hold of and cuddle him, couldn't you? But there are a couple of things, though. One of the things that I've mentioned this before is when you've got a leg like that sticking out, it spoiled the picture. So I'm going to get you to do your magic again. I want you to come up a little tiny bit from the bottom, but not much. That's it. That's fine. Even if you do chop off a bit of the paw, that's okay. And then come in from the left-hand side, right in. You may well have to cut a little bit of that ear. No, you'll have to leave the ear in. Go back. That's it. Leave it like that. And then I think you'd have to come in just a little bit on the right, just a touch. That's it. And down a touch. Now, that would give you a better representation of the dog, as you can see. It looks great now, doesn't it? As far as the area where you have the fur, the leg, you'd have to, what I would do is I would lose that leg. I would have lost the leg altogether. I would lose it. If you were to think about the background that you've got on that, I'd bring that background down so that it obscured that leg. Do you know what I mean? Got rid of it altogether. You can bring the top of the back of the dog down a little bit. That would have worked all right. So you get away with it, and that would be a lovely picture then. And I think your friend would be very pleased. Only thing I would say, the left-hand eye doesn't quite work, and I tell you why that is. It's just a little bit out of proportion. You see, when an animal, you're looking at that animal slightly on the side, not the front. The front eye, the right-hand side eye, is perfect. You've got that right. When you move to the left, you have a very slight slant on it. You see me?
Yeah,
you're looking slightly on the side. Well, what you've done is you've looked at it straight on.
It's a bit big, isn't it? It's just a fraction big when it's slightly. Yeah, you would see less of it, wouldn't you?
I think you're looking at more the wrong shape rather than the size. Yes, I think you could possibly be a tiny bit too wide, but not much. It's not much. It's fractional, but it's the shape that would be slightly out. You're slightly wrong with that, and it may be very difficult for you to actually see that.
Yeah.
Because how do you, if you drew it like that, drew it out originally, it would look like that. The drawing would look like that. So you'd have to work on that quite a lot. Even if you put the shadow in on that left-hand side, that would have helped a bit. Also, the other thing that you can be careful of is the lights in the eye. Now, you see me always do lots of lights in the eye, and it's very important that you do, but you could subdue that a little bit more, and that would have made that dog just a little bit more soft, a little bit harsh. But apart from that, I think you've done a brilliant job, and I think the blanket is very, very good. I know how hard that is to do. I haven't done many pictures like that, but if you were to do that, or if you were to frame it like that for your friend, I think she'd be delighted. But lose some of the... if you can go back to where it was, Steve, put it back to where it was originally. You see what I mean by that paw? I mean, we can see what it is. The only thing you could have done with it is to make it darker. You know, the shadow under it darker, because it's a very light compared with the reference picture. But it would be far better to actually get rid of it altogether. Because another time he would have his paw under him, wouldn't he? That's what you've got to argue.
That's true.
But I think it's lovely. Well done, and your friend will be delighted.
Lovely. Excellent. So the second picture, she says here, is of my niece. I don't know what I was thinking trying a portrait. I messed up the colours straight away, and the only way to save it was to go into a grayscale. Your thoughts on my attempt would be great.
Yeah, I think your attempt is great. Really good. But as you're absolutely right in saying that it's really hard. The eyes are just a tiny bit too big, just a little. And you've got the thing about something like this is you've got to watch hands, because they can look like sausages if you're not careful. And it's very hard to get hands looking right. I know that for a fact. So that's where the difficulty is, really. You've probably got away with the shape of the face, because it's not bad, and the hair's not bad. The arms, now, this is another area where photography throws you out somewhat. Do you know what I mean? The arms look, on your picture, the arms look, one's big and one's small. You know, the right hand is much fatter and bigger than the left hand. And if you look at the reference picture, you see the same thing. So you've only copied what you've seen. But here you have to make it just a little bit of allowance. If I was doing that, I would have just made that left arm just a little bigger, a little fatter, just to make it look right, even though the reference picture doesn't show that particularly. Very hard. Gosh, portraits are difficult to do, and there's no easy answer to it. I tell you, something like that. I think you've done.
There's a lot to consider, isn't there? When you're looking at a picture and imagining it as a painting, you've got to really have a foresight of how is that going to look, you know?
Well, yes, that's true, but it's always wise after the event. Once you've done something, you think, oh, I wish I hadn't. But it's not easy when you're looking at a picture. I still now, even today, do come across little problems of that kind. But I've done enough pictures now to know that I've got to look for things that create a problem. The pose is lovely. The pose is absolutely delightful, and there's not much you could have done with that. So well done. I mean, it's still a very, very good attempt. We've got some more portrait work coming up. So I don't do many portraits, and the reason I don't do them is obvious, because if I were, no one really wants me to do obscure pictures. It's got to have a reason, but we have got one coming up that you'll be interested in, and I do want to do more. So this is something that I tend to stick to the animals and then the landscapes and ignore the portraits for that reason. But I will do more, and we are conscious of the fact that there's not enough done. But I think you've done really well, and you've done this in grayscale, you say. I wonder if, was it originally in colour then? And was it? No, it wasn't, was it? You couldn't get the colour. I'm just reading it again.
Yeah.
I messed up the colour straight away. I say it goes grayscale. I see. Yes. Well, it's very good to do that, actually, to go black and white, because that helps you with the tonal values. So it's not that bad.
Lovely. Well done, Michelle.
Well, I hope that helps.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's all we've got for this week's feedback show. But I think there's lots of really good tips and advice in this one. So I hope that's helped everyone watching. The feedback show is open to members of our website. So if you're a member, then you can submit your work. Just email it over to us, and we'll put it in the show. And as these guys have mentioned, just let us know what areas that you found difficult, so that we can sort of focus on that to help you out. And next week we have pre-recorded a podcast already, because I'm going away on Saturday. So you will still get a podcast next week. But should note that if you're watching this and it's after or between the 20th and the 27th of May, the store, we won't be shipping orders out for that week. So if you're watching this and you need to place an order, place it now before sort of midday on the 19th, on the Friday. Otherwise, your order will be dispatched on the Monday after. So the 29th, I think. Is that right? 29th. Yeah, 29th of May. Just to give everyone a heads up.
Well, actually, I tell you, it probably won't be, Steve, because that's Bank Holiday Monday.
Oh, is it? Oh, I didn't see. I don't know bank holidays.
So it'll be on the Tuesday.
Oh, well, that messes up everything. It'd be the Tuesday then. Tuesday the 30th. So you will still receive your orders, but they just won't be dispatched until after that, on that Tuesday. So just letting everyone know that. But yes, I'm going away for a week, which is...
you deserve it.
Nice.
Steve, you've done a lot of work in the last couple of years, and you deserve a holiday with your break, and you and your young lady.
Thank you.
You can enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And
I'm still here, though, on emails. I'll still be around. So, if you have any queries, as always, you can still get in touch. Might be a slight delayed response, but I'll be there. I can't promise a quick response, but I'll be around, absolutely, as always. So, okay, and we'll be back for another feedback show after that. So that week that I'm back, we'll be doing another show. Great. Thanks, Dad. And
that's all right. Pleasure, as always.
And we'll speak to you again very soon. Okay, thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Bye for now.